Hi guys, today we're talking about triangle proportionality. If you hear some birds, it's because I'm outside, and if you hear a baby, it's because Leah is out here. Okay, triangle proportionality theorem says if a line is parallel to one side of a triangle and it intersects the other two sides, then it divides the two sides proportionally. The converse of that, before we move on, so let's write some proportionality statements. That would mean RT over TQ is equal to the proportion RU over US. Okay, now the converse, which says if a line divides two sides of a triangle proportionally, then it is parallel to the third side. So the original theorem says if it's parallel, notice that it is marked by these triangles here, those little arrows. We've talked about that before. If they're parallel, then it divides the side lengths proportionally. The converse of that says, obviously, if it's proportional, then they're parallel. So, for example, if RT is 7, then and TQ is 3.5, then the other side lengths would have to be proportional as well. So that would be 5 and 2.5, because they would have to have the same proportionality, the same ratios. 7 divided by 3.5 is 2, 5 divided by 2.5 is 2. So now, since we know that these side lengths are proportional, we can say that the two lines are parallel. There's Leah, right there. Moving on to now 3 parallel lines. So if you've got 3 parallel lines intersecting 2 transversals, then it still divides the 2 transversals proportionally. So let's write some statements to help us out. I'm going to write UW over WY. That's equal to VX over XZ. So we've got obviously the 2 sections that are like across from each other. Last theorem here says that if you have an angle bisector, then it divides the opposite sides into segments whose lengths are proportional. So here we have CD as an angle bisector. You know that because of these markings on the angle. Don't assume. You know what they say about assuming. Make sure you actually look. So that'll be that'll be A over B equals C over D. Okay, we gotta find RS in this diagram. You're given that you have an angle bisector. You know it because it is marked in the diagram. You're not assuming. This section right here, so the whole thing is 15, and this part RS is X, so that means that this guy is 15 minus X. So let's write a proportion. 15 minus X over X, this is the last theorem, equals 7 over 13. So 7 and 13 correspond, and these 2 correspond. Okay, then you cross multiply and solve. 13, and in parentheses you put 15 minus X equals 7 times X, or 7X. Now distribute. And I'm going to go ahead and let you solve that on your own. If you go ahead and pause this video and solve it, that'd be great. If you do it correctly, then X should be 9.75. But, I almost boxed my answer. Not doing that yet because it actually asks you to find the length of RS, which is X. So RS is 9.75. Okay, now we're on the next page, example 2. In the diagram, you know that the angles 1, 2, and 3 are all congruent. Those are all corresponding angles, so that tells you that these lines are parallel. Because you have 3 parallel lines, you know that these two are going to be proportional to these two. Okay, notice how it's already marked X because you were trying to find the distance HF. You can't find the distance of the whole thing, you need to find the distance of the smaller part. So 150 over 300 equals 120 over X. So that's blue over red and then blue over red. And now cross multiply and solve. You can pause the video and do that yourself because we've learned that before. If you do that correctly, then you should get X to be 240. But we're not trying to find X, we're trying to find HF. So HF is this entire thing. You have to add 240 to 120. HF is 360 units, please, yards. Next example is number 4. Find the length of AB. Mark it with a variable so you know what you're looking for. These sides are, look at that, parallel. We're given that in the diagram. So X over 6 equals 5 over 10. Cross multiply and solve. I'll actually go ahead and do this one. 10x equals 5 times 6, 30. If you divide by 10, then x is 3, and that is the length of AB. So AB is equal to 3. Number 5, again, we're finding the length of AB, so mark that with a variable. The lines there are parallel, so we can write that x over 7 equals 7 over 9. Cross multiply and solve. 9x equals 49, and if you divide by 9, you get 1.5 repeating, which you note with a fraction bar, or with a bar over the top of the 5. Last few on this one, number 6, you have angle bisectors. I'm not assuming that, it's marked in the diagram. And since I have angle bisectors, I know that we've got some proportional pieces. 5 goes with x, so these two. And you have to go back to this triangle. 15 goes to 9. All right, now cross multiply and solve. That'd be 45 equals 15x. Divide by 15 and you get 3. So x is 3. Last one. Oh man, it's another one of those where you're given the whole side. You don't want the whole side. You just want the pieces. So B corresponds to this one, but you don't have that piece, so you have to do 14 minus B. Okay, now you can write your proportion when you have all the little pieces. And we know that 9 is going to correspond to 6.75. Let's start with a bigger triangle. So B over 14 minus B. Those two go together. That's equal to 9 over 6.75. Cross multiply. And solve. Make sure you put 14 minus B in parentheses. And you distribute that 9 before you get going. I'm going to let you go ahead and solve that one. So please pause the video and do that. You should get B to be 8.